What's up, y'all? This your girl Jay Renee with Prison Ride Radio. I hope that you're doing well. This afternoon, I got a brother on the phone by the name of Radee Prince, and he's going to talk to us about some of the corruption that he said happened in his case. So we're going to give him an opportunity to tell us what's going on, and then we're going to go from there. So let's jump right into it. All right, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. So,
I'm cool. Thanks for pulling up on us. We're going to jump right into it, okay?
all right.
All right. Tell the
Um,
people a little bit about yourself and where you from.
uh, my name is Radee Prince. I'm 45. From Wilmington, Delaware, but specifically from Dunleaf, out of Newcastle.
Okay.
Uh,
I know. So, I know the little bit of conversation that we got to have. I know you was telling me it's a lot of corruption in your case and everything that you plan on talking about today. You have, the paperwork to prove it. So, I like to give you an opportunity to address the listeners and just tell them what's going on with you, bro. Start from the bottom and work your way up. So, what's going on?
all right. So, like I said, how you doing? My name is Radee Prince. I've been labeled a mass shooter, but my case is far more complex than that. At the time of the shooting, I was suffering from several undiagnosed mental illnesses, and I was the target of a murder for hire plot at the hands of Jason Rashawn Ball, the reported victim in the Delaware case. Instead of the DA charging Ball with attempted murder for the murder for hire plot, they decided to hide it and bury it because Ball has been an active informant for the Wilmington Police Department for over a decade at the time of the October 18, 2017 shooting. Uh, I'm not doing this interview in an attempt to gain sympathy from the public. I just want to expose the fact that I wasn't given a fair trial. The Delaware District Attorney in my case, a man by the name of Mark Denny, has recently come under fire in yet another high-profile RICO case in which he was caught on tape telling yet another paid informant, "I don't care if you lie, just," he said, "I don't care if you lie, just let us know what you're going to say so that way we're on the same page at the time of trial." He made this statement in the joint trial of Damian Anderson, Eric Lloyd, and Dwayne White. This is the kind of misconduct by the DA that led me to speak about the similarities in my case. However, this wasn't the first time Mark Denny has been caught red-handed committing misconduct in criminal cases. In the case of Jaquez Robinson, a jailhouse informant claimed that Robinson's attorney provided him with documents outside the guidelines of a protective order. So the state launched an investigation into the matter, confiscated privileged legal material from Robinson's cell, and lied to the court about it. After months, Mark Denny and his colleagues after months of Mark Denny and his colleagues' lies, the trial judge threw out Robinson's case. The Delaware Supreme Court reinstated the case, but warned the DA that any more similar misconduct could lead to possible sanctions as well as dismissal of the case. Mark Denny obviously didn't heed that warning. In my case, the court also placed a protective order on my case, which prevented me from seeing certain evidence and witness statements. The state claimed that the shooting took place because Ball refused to give me a job in 2014 instead of exposing the real reason, which was that he had a check placed on my head. Um, his own employee, Matt Burns, told law enforcement less than an hour after the shooting that the reason the shooting took place was because I got the ball before Ball could get to me. He also stated on a tape recorder interview that that they talked about committing a murder against me the day before the shooting. At the conclusion of the state's case in chief, the judge made a preliminary ruling denying me of my constitutional right to put on the defense or call for witnesses to rebut Jason Ball's testimony. The judge stated, based off of the evidence presented by the prosecution, he didn't see how I could ever receive jury instructions for self-defense or extreme emotional distress. The judge, the DA, and my own attorney told me to concede my case. The next day, Mark Denny threatened to charge my defense witness, Damian Roberts, with attempted murder if he testified to his part in the murder for hire plot. Damian Roberts was a childhood friend of Jason Ball, who Jason recruited to see if he can commit the murder at my home or my work addresses. He, Jason Ball provided Damian Roberts and a friend of his, Avery Maxwell, with my home work address and the address for my girlfriend's, my, the address of my girlfriend's grandmother's home. The two did a drive run. They went to my home to see if the murder could take place at my house. Because I had cameras out front of my house and the dynamics of my neighborhood, meaning there was always a lot of people outside. They went back and reported to Jason Ball at his car lot and told him that they didn't think that the murder could take place in that neighborhood. That was the last thing that they had to do with the murder for hire plot, as it was to them. To get around the court's preliminary decision and over the objection of my attorney, I decided to testify in my own defense. However, during the court's colloquy, I repeatedly stated that he was forcing me to testify. I repeatedly stated that he was forcing me to testify, and that was the only reason that I was testifying in my own defense. Before I can even utter a single word on a stand, the court reversed its ruling and stated that my witnesses will now be permitted to testify, but only after I testify first. At the close of the defense's case, the judge ruled because I decided to testify in my own defense, I made my state of mind an issue, so the prosecution will now be permitted to present evidence of the Maryland shooting. The Maryland shooting was previously ruled inadmissible in the Delaware trial. Despite the judge's preliminary ruling, I earned both of the jury instructions that I seek. I was found guilty of the lesser included offense of extreme emotional distress. If the state was not permitted to play the Maryland shooting video, the jury would have decided that the shooting was committed in self-defense because they clearly didn't believe Jason Ball's testimony. After sentencing, I decided to fire my attorney and represent myself pro se. Because I chose to go pro se, the judge finally lifted the protective order. For the first time, I was permitted to see the witness statements, including Matt Burns' video. That was also the first time I was allowed to see a copy of the Delaware shooting video provided to my attorney pre-trial. It was discovered that the DA manipulated and or altered the version played at trial. The state added gunshots and erased content. Ms. J. Renee?
Yes.
Yeah, these are some of the highlighted versions of my case. But like I said, to get into the perjury aspect of the case, I mean, I could go into details of that to show how he committed perjury.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let me get right into it. All right, so Jason Ball clearly committed perjury. I moved away in 2008, and I didn't return back to the state of. I moved away and was living in Seattle for work, and I didn't come back until 2014. Upon my return in 2014, I let it be known that Jason Ball took a plea to testify against my brother Aaron Bruton in the past in the early 2000s. This information ended up getting back to Jason Ball, so he went and he hired some guys from over West Side to attack me, to assault me rather. Coming out of a nightclub over Orange and off of Orange and 9th Street, I was sitting in a parked car with my sister and a female acquaintance when my car door was snatched open by 6 men. The first blow was a blow to the face. They snatched me out of the car, beat me throughout the face and body until I was unconscious. The police was on scene doing crowd control at the time, so they quickly came once they heard the disturbance. When the police arrived in the parking lot, I was literally my sister. She was holding my bloody head in her lap, and she was yelling at the crowd, talking about y'all set my brother up.
Okay. So let me
ask. Yeah, I'm good, y'all. I'm good, y'all. Nah, that was medication. I'm sorry. So she was creating my bloody head. So as they put me on a gurney and sent me to the hospital, they arrested my sister for causing a disturbance.
Wow.
I was at the hospital. They incubated me. They placed me in a medically induced coma. I suffer from a traumatic brain injury. I had I had a laceration on my face. I had on my forehead. I had a laceration on my hand. I had a broken back, and and my sister that morning when they went to her jail cell, and they told her, they said, you can leave now. Your brother's being stitched up. When I finally awoke later that night or whatever, I asked to leave against medical advice because of the way that I and my sister was treated. I didn't trust being in the hospital.
Yeah.
The, they did a number of cognitive tests at the time to make sure that I wouldn't fall and harm myself anymore. So they made me walk um, around the unit. I was placed on the trauma unit, and I'll never forget what the nurse said. She said, "Look around you." And I'm looking around. I'm looking in each room. She said, "You're the only one awoke." She said, "I've never seen anybody come in with your injuries and leave less than 24 hours later." Um, like I said, that always stood out to me. She literally walked me all the way down till they put me in a car, strapped me into my car seat. I mean, strapped me into the seat, and she put the buckle on. She said, if you even have a headache, I want you to come back to this unit.
Okay.
Um, so um, I didn't I had I, since that incident, it took me a while to figure out who the parties was involved and who who was involved in the assault. I eventually found out that Jason Ball was the one who was behind it. So let's fast forward to January 14th. That happened. That actually happened in February 22nd of 2014. So let's fast forward to January 2016. My brother Aaron, the one who he testified against in the past, recently came home from prison. So I got the call while I was at work that Aaron just came home from jail. So I went to go see him, and when I walked in the house, it was Jason Ball, my brother Aaron, and my father, who was dying from suffering from heart disease at the time. He was in the house as well. So while we sitting there, I immediately, I jumped right into it. I'm like, why do you have a guy around you that testified against you in the past? It doesn't make sense. When Jason got upset, he stood up. I stood up. He pushed me, and I beat the shit out of him. I mean, I punched on him. We ended up by the wall. I kept punching on him. My brother and my father ended up pulling me off of him. So when they grabbed me off of him, he immediately ran outside. He ran outside and he jumped into a Silverado, which was back into the driveway. I stayed in the house for another 5 minutes or so just to calm myself down. So when I went to go outside to walk past his truck, I could hear him on the phone with the police. So when he seen me, he hurried up and dashed out of the driveway. I go back in the house and to tell my family, I'm like, yo, this dude called the police. And because of, they didn't believe me, and because of, the fact that he testified against my brother, and it was another childhood friend that was in the case, because he testified against them in the past, they, like I said, they didn't believe that he would do that again. So they came out on the porch to see. So I'm outside. I'm standing. I'm standing on the driveway and the sidewalk area or whatever, and I'm clearly yelling my. You want? I'm clearly yelling my displeasure for him calling the police, and I'm like, I'm not going nowhere. Like I'm waiting for him to come. So I got my back towards Jason. He's literally parked in the middle of the street in a Silverado, and he's parked behind my Charger. So I'm staring up at my pop and my brother talking to them, and my dad yells my name. So when he yelled my name, I could hear the roar of the engine bearing down on me. So I looked over my shoulder, and I could see the truck coming towards me. Now I had to make a split-second decision. If I ran to the left, I would have been crushed against the steps. So I ended up trying to run towards the right to get out of the path of the truck. It was snow. It was snow on the ground. I mean, it was like up to my calf deep. So I tried to get out of the way, but because of the snow, I couldn't get clear enough. So the truck ended up hitting me on my right side. I ended up spinning. Literally, my chest and my arms is on the hood of the truck. The only reason the truck stopped was because it slammed into the base of the steps. It stopped it in its tracks immediately. The there was wooden steps on the bottom. I mean, there was a wooden fence on the bottom of the steps, and that's what, like, my body literally broke that. Broke the fence. I'm laying on top of it. He jumps out of the truck, and he's standing. He's standing like in the. I can't think of what it's called, but he's like he's standing. He wasn't all the way out of the truck, but he was out where he could lean out over, and he yelled. He was like, "I'll kill you." He said, "Motherfucker, I'll kill you." So I hurry up, not even, worrying about my injuries. I jumped up and was literally great, like, in attempt to jump over the hood. But he hurry up, jumped back in the driver's seat and started backing up. Because I was still in striking range, I ended up going up on to the top of the steps, and I sat there until the police came. The next door neighbor, the neighbor across the street, she seen what was going on. She said, she asked me, was I okay? She said, I'm calling the police as well. So she called the police. As soon as the police got there, they ended up putting handcuffs on me. So because they put handcuffs on me, there's no reason for me to make a statement. Y'all obviously arrested me, so I had nothing to say to them. So like I said, because they put handcuffs on me, they try to ask me questions. I refuse to make a statement. While I'm sitting in the ambulance, because my foot was so swollen, it looked like the size of my calf. They felt like, they thought my foot was broke. I could hear the police saying, they said none of this is making any sense. They said if he had a gun, where did he put it? He couldn't walk. And like I told you, it was snow on the ground, and you'll be able to see it from the pictures. There's no way out. Like you would have seen a path, you would have seen footprints or something, of me going somewhere if I hit a gun. And like I said, that whole thing just didn't, like I said, it didn't make sense to me. So they took me to the hospital. They did a whole bunch of a whole bunch of tests, like took me to CAT scans and all that. And it wasn't until I came out of the CAT scan and I looked behind me, and it was a parade of police following me. And they had a dog literally walking around the hospital. So now I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Like, what's going on? Like, why do y'all have, such presence behind me? Like, it's not making sense for a simple fight. Come to find out, the dude said that he said that I tried to rob him with a gun, and that was the reason for him hitting me with a truck. So I ended up I had to bail myself out of jail. I had to hire an attorney. I ended up grabbing an attorney by the name of Mike Monica, and for the preliminary hearing. Now, at the preliminary hearing, that's the chance where you can question the strength of the case. So my attorney, he's asking the arresting officer. He's like, so why is my client being charged with attempted robbery? He was asking, what was that corroborated by the witnesses? He said no. He said, well, you do understand that Jason Ball has excuse me, I'm kind of all over. So he said, you do know he has an extensive criminal history, correct? He was like, yes. He said, so why was his version accepted? And he just said, well, at the time we just, we simply believed him. Long story short, all the charges were thrown out. But it was later figured out that why they just believed his word over, why they just accepted his word was because he was dealing with a guy, a homicide detective by the name of Detective Ball out of Wilmington Hospital. Out of Wilmington Police Department. They have the same last name but spelled different. And the Detective Ball is white, Jason Ball is black. During the course of my trial, when Jason Ball was shot, he stated that Radee Prince shot him, and he said, I lived in Elkland, Maryland. He was questioned on the stand, and my attorney asked him, he said, well, how did you know that he lived in Elkland, Maryland? He said, a friend of mine gave me his home address. That's how I knew where he lived. He said, a friend of mine where he test drove a car gave me that information. So when they asked him, okay, so who is this friend that gave you this information? He claimed that he didn't know who he was talking about. Come to find out, the person that gave him that information was Ryan Wolf. Ryan Wolf is what was I didn't know at the time, but I found out he was a childhood friend of Jason Ball. I bought my GMC Acadia off of him. So he reached out to this guy Ryan Wolf, and Ryan Wolf gave him. He was the one who gave him my home address, gave him my work address, and gave him my girlfriend's grandmother's address. So Jason Ball took this information that he got from this guy who I purchased a vehicle from, and he with the purpose of trying to get trying to commit a murder. Um, the police knew about all of this from the get go, and of course, like I said, they buried this information. Um, uh, and 20 later on, a couple months after the truck incident, um, we were at my father's funeral. My father passed away a couple months later. We had the funeral. The funeral was over. Where my sister, my niece's son, infant son, and my aunt. We was all getting in the car to follow the procession. Jason Ball, and my brother Aaron was in the car, parked across the street, like maybe two, three cars up. As the procession was moving forward, now we're both side by side, and Jason Ball was just staring at me. I laughed at him, I laughed at him. He jumps out of the car, he cocks a gun, and he comes up to my car window and he points it at my face. Um, I was so pissed by him doing that. I went to jump out of the car, and my sister, she hurried up and put her head in my lap and grabbed me and begged me not to get out of the car. Um, as the few cars move, as the procession moved forward, um, she I was able to move up a little bit. My sister jumped out of the car and she's cussing me out like, why would you do that? And you got my my daughter and my grandson in the car. He said that, and I guess he made she testified that we made a statement. Well, I wasn't going to shoot him. I was just trying to scare him. She was like, you just trying to scare him? What the fuck type shit? Like what are you on? Like why would you do that? I tell her, come on, let's get in the car, and we leave. After that, like I said, that's when he started reaching out to people that several people throughout our city, whatever the case, to try to commit the murder, and that's where he ended up reaching out to the guy, Damian Roberts. Damian Roberts and Avery Maxwell. Damian Roberts actually said, he ended up, like I told you, he ended up giving a statement to the police in the middle of trial, and they threatened to charge him with attempted murder if he testified to what he knew about the case. Um, it was it was blatant. The police knew about it. They tried to hide it. They tried to discard it, and that's how he committed perjury on the stand, along with all the other issues that happened from the prosecutor as well as the court.
Okay. All right.
And like I said, I plan on I'm giving you all of this. I'm giving you all of this information, and so you could do whatever you want. You could put it on your platform. You could whatever you want to do with it. You can it's yours to do.
All right. So my question to you, bro, is like, okay, now today is today. After everything is happening, what are you trying to do now, and what are you looking for from the people? Like, what support do you need?
Um, clearly, I didn't receive a fair trial, and all I'm trying to do is receive a fair trial. At every point throughout the course of the trial, the prosecution tried to make it seem like we was making this stuff up, that we didn't have credible evidence. As I told you, there was a protective order in my place, in place during the course of my trial. So his employee, a Caucasian male is telling you from the rip, like, this is why the shooting occurred, and this is what I know about the shooting. Um, uh, it doesn't get any more credible than that. Having Damian Roberts, his own childhood friend, telling you that he didn't have any connection to me. I didn't know this guy from Can of Paint, but he ended up coming forward and trying to tell what he knew about the murder for hire plot. It doesn't get any more credible than that. These two committed crimes back in the day when they were kids. So there's a clear connection. Like I said, I just simply want a chance to put all the evidence out there so that I could be judged based off of the evidence and not based off of lies. Uh, so
Okay.
I got my case is currently sitting on appeal, and it's been sitting on a shelf for 2 years. And like I said, all I want, all I'm hoping for is is to expose the prosecutor for the fraud that he is, and be able to show that that I should clearly be given a second chance at a trial.
For sure, bro. Tell people how they can get in contact with you or stay connected with you.
Uh, well, I'm currently at Smyrna Correctional Facility. My FBI number is 333-765. I can be reached on a tablet. I can be reached, through mail. You could clearly see, the address for Smyrna Penitentiary. But I need I guess the main thing that I do need is I need an attorney that's willing to help me fight this case. That's willing to listen to the evidence, present the evidence properly, and like I said, just give me a chance, to fight my case properly. And I think that right there is how I could be helped.